It's time for Come and Talk It with your host, Michael Cargill, brought to you by Texas Law Shield. Over the last decade, Michael has championed and supported the rights of law-abiding Texans to own and use firearms. He is the owner of Central Texas Gun Works, a veteran of the United States Army, and has achieved national exposure in such prestigious media outlets such as Forbes Magazine, Fox Business News, CNN Money, AOL, BBC World News, Huffington Post, and the New York Times. Cargill vigorously defends lawful gun ownership in this country without regard to party politics. And now, here's Michael Cargill.
Good day, Austin, Texas, the live music capital of the world. Let's praise the Lord and pass the ammunition. All right, so I think there's a serial killer in Austin, Texas. Is there? Why are all these bodies?
Austin, Texas, baby.
Why are all these bodies being found in Lady Bird Lake and on Rainy Street? What's going on around there? Is there a serial killer? We only have so many police officers to investigate this. What's going on? I'm not getting any answers. I can't get any answers from the Austin Police Department. What's happening with this? There's a serial killer in Austin. Also, it is time we defend the Texas Guard. Defend the Texas Guard. What does that mean? And who's holding this up from being passed in the Texas legislature? Let's talk about that. Defend the Guard. What is that?
Well, Defend the Guard is a bill that essentially says to the federal government that we're not going to be sending any Texas National Guard to foreign wars without a formal declaration of war. It's a bill that we've been talking about here on and off on Come and Talk It. It's a bill that I'm championing here as a part of the Austin Republican Liberty Caucus here in Texas. And like you said, there's an update here. As we've been trying to get this bill passed, we had a big testimony last year. Over a dozen veterans came out to support this bill. And so far this year, we've been getting slapped in the face by a certain representative, Representative Terry Wilson. He's the chair of the Defense and Veterans Affairs Committee. He's holding Defend the Guard, also known as HB 184, hostage. He will not let this bill be heard. And so one of the things we're asking our viewers, we're asking all Texans to come out, is to call Representative Terry Wilson at his phone number and demand this bill be heard. His number is 512-463-0309. So call that number. Make sure your voice is heard. He is essentially obstructing the Constitution. This is something that we should be demanding as Texans to make sure that our National Guard is in Texans, not in foreign wars. And the Congress has been essentially going against the Constitution for years. This is a power that we granted the Congress, the people. This is a power that we granted them, and they're abusing it.
So what's happening is you're saying that whenever we get a president that's a warmonger and he wants to send troops, just to do whatever they're doing without any real justification and a declaration of war by Congress, we're saying you can do that with federal troops, but not with the Texas National Guard.
Absolutely. We need our guardsmen here in Texas. We need guardsmen really in all sorts of states. This bill is being passed, is being pushed right now. It's actually being pushed in Arizona. That'll likely be passed here soon. Why are we letting states like Arizona lead on this issue nationwide when us as Texans should be leading on this issue?
So we're saying is we need our Texas National Guard to defend the border of Texas.
Absolutely.
Because we have issues down at the border, so why aren't we using the Texas Guard for that rather than using the Texas Guard in other countries?
Absolutely. And there's so many different issues. I mean, think about the various natural disasters we've had in the last few years, from Hurricane Harvey to this various power outages. I mean, one fact many people don't know is that back during Hurricane Katrina, there was actually not many National Guard in Louisiana and Texas, around the surrounding states. They were in foreign wars. I believe they were in Iraq at the time. So we had to, as a nation, bring in National Guardsmen from Idaho and the Midwest to the Deep South to be able to help out Louisiana.
All right, so who's this low dog ponytail sucker that's holding up this bill that's not trying to defend our National Guard? And what's his justification for not allowing this bill to be heard in the committee?
That's a good question, Michael, and I hope all of the viewers call in and ask him. This is Representative Terry Wilson. He's actually out of HD 20, right above us, just out of Austin, pretty much north of Austin. So we're right in his backyard, if you will.
All right, so
Um,
Terry Wilson.
yeah.
I know Terry. What's Terry's phone number?
His phone number, let me pull that up right one more time. That is 512-463-0309. I'm going to say that one more time for the viewers. Call this number, 512-463-0309. Call Terry.
Because Terry doesn't have any problems with sending troops overseas, but he doesn't want to use our troops to defend our Texas border instead.
Yeah, this is a slap in the face to all Texas veterans. We had a hearing on this 2 years ago, and over a dozen people came out. People know that this bill means a lot to the veteran community, and the fact that he's holding this hostage, he won't even let it go through for a hearing. That's just an insult to us as Texans. It's an insult to the veterans and to the U.S. Constitution.
Mm. Terry Nichols. What's that number one more time?
Terry Wilson, chairman of the Defense
Terry
and Veteran
Wilson.
Affairs Committee. That's Representative Terry Wilson. That number is 512-463-0309. I also put it in the chat for our viewers on YouTube. Call Terry Wilson and let him know that you want to get HB 184 passed. You also want to get it heard. You want to let this bill be heard because he's holding this bill hostage. We need to get Defend the Guard heard in the Defense and Veterans Affairs Committee because Terry Wilson is holding this bill hostage. Please call 512-463-0309.
Now, Austin, Texas. Boy, I tell you, I think we got a serial killer on the loose here. Rainy Street, Lady Bird Lake. What is with all these dead bodies that we're finding in this area here? I know it's not a well-lit area. When you go down Rainy Street and you're right there on Lady Bird Lake, it's actually pretty dark in that area. But then it's all men that they're finding dead in the lake. What is going on there? Is there a serial killer on the loose? I'm telling you, you might want to be careful. Watch out going down there. You might get drugged. Maybe they drop something in your drink there. So be careful. You might want to be together in little teams and groups or whatever because it's a little dangerous down there on Rainy Street in Austin, Texas. We don't have that many police officers. We're 300 police officers short in this city. Almost 300 police officers short in Austin, Texas. So you might want to be careful and take care of yourself because there might be a serial killer on Rainy Street and over by Lady Bird Lake. So be careful. We come back from the break. What I want to talk about, I want to get into, there's some stuff going on in Washington State. What is happening in Washington State? We're going to talk about that. Also, Defense Distributed. We're going to get Cody Wilson on the phone. He's been ducking and diving me, that little jive turkey, but we're going to get him on the phone. Cody Wilson, I'm coming for you. That's right. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Peace, this is Maj Toure. You're listening to Come and Talk It Radio with Michael Cargill.
This current administration is doing nothing but walking into gun stores, mom and pop gun stores, going after the simple little small minor paperwork errors that people are making and trying to shut those gun stores down permanently who've been in existence for decades. And what we're doing is by bringing this lawsuit, we're saying, you know what? You need to stop that. What Congress says this is what you're supposed to do. There are a set of laws there and they should follow those laws, not step outside those boundaries. And so we're trying to put them back in those boundaries and say this is enough. It's impossible for anyone to do what we do and not make any mistakes at all. You get people that walk into the gun store to fill out a 4473, which is the firearms transaction record. There's 100 ways a person can mess up this form, if not more than that. There are 100 different inputs that you actually put on the form. Even customers make mistakes when it comes to their name, their middle name or their first name. They reverse it. On that little box that says county, they put country. That does not mean that that person is going to get handed a firearm and they're not supposed to. They're not a prohibited person. And so their license should not get revoked just for that simple little minor mistake. I'm actually getting phone calls from gun stores all around the country, as far as like Oregon, as close as Houston. You're talking mom and pop gun stores. Grandparents, great-grandparents have owned this store, and all of a sudden now, ATF comes in and inspect them, find a little paperwork error. Maybe they've made the same type of error because they didn't catch it themselves, and they're wanting to shut them down. And this is the only way that I can help them, is by filing a lawsuit, kind of being on the offensive instead of the defensive. I think we're assisting all the gun stores in the country in getting the ATF back into the box it need to be put back into. I'm so grateful that I was able to sit down and talk with TPPF. This organization is the one organization that I thought would actually stand up for Texans and stand up for all Americans in the United States and fight the federal government when they're overstepping their bounds.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're back and we're talking about Washington State. There's some crazy stuff going on in the Washington State. And man, it may be time to, do something drastic in that state. You might want to, I think I want to drive to Washington State, just stand on the border there in Oregon and say, hey, walk your guns to the border, just give them to me. Because obviously you people aren't voting right there, so you don't deserve to have guns there. So I'm just going to walk over there. I'm going to go to Portland. I'm going to stand over in Oregon there and just pass your gun to me because you don't want them. What's going on in Washington State there?
Well, they just passed a bill in the Washington State House that is going to ban the sale of so-called assault weapons, which is a misnomer. They're actually going to ban a bunch of semi-automatic firearms, which is basically every pistol other than a revolver, all rifles other than bolt action. And there are certain requirements, like if it has a detachable magazine, like most rifles.
Well, there went all your Magpul furniture hunter models in the bolt action platform because they actually were describing those as not lawful underneath the bill.
Oh,
so there's your Remington 700, your Savages, your Savage 110s, your Tikas, your Brownings, anything that's mag fed is no longer allowed.
Jeez, and they're even going so far as to ban a bunch of semi-automatic shotguns too. So
Really?
this bill has passed the Washington State House. That's the first step. The next is it's going to the Washington State Senate, where it is expected to pass, and then is also expected to be signed into law by the governor of the state.
Ooh.
And all these weapons, they will grandfather the weapons in if you already own them, and you are allowed to pass them on one generation to your son or daughter, but your son or daughter, once their time is up, then they cannot pass that weapon on to anyone.
All hail Caesar. All hail Caesar.
So they're
Good
basically saying,
Lord.
if you already have them, yeah, we'll let you have them.
For one
You can
last
give
year.
them to one generation after you, and then they may not pass that weapon on.
Part of the reason I'm having my will say they're all buried with me with my safe.
Yeah, so how are they going to track these things?
Oh, voluntary registration maybe or something. I don't know.
This is going to be very interesting. Because I know when they banned bump stocks, only about 100 bump stocks will turn in out of over 1 million.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Were
when
you
they
one of those hundreds, weren't you?
and then we'll come across the table in a minute. And then
No, you had to turn one in order to start that lawsuit, right?
several of them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Several?
yeah, more than
So
one.
you're responsible for like 5 out of those 100?
Yeah, so we're gonna get them back though. We're gonna march out of that office, the ATF office, with a bump stock, and I'm gonna hump it all the way down the stairs, the escalator, and out the front door.
All right, I had to cut mine up with a Sawzall. Do I get payment for that?
No, yeah, you FAFO.
Mm,
Yeah, I know it's sad.
sad.
I know, so sad.
Sledge.
Yeah, and so man, so Washington State. So if you let's see, you can pass it down to one generation.
Yeah.
And
Son or
after that,
daughter.
a son and daughter. Then that generation dies. Then what?
Then that weapon is then a illegal firearm that cannot be possessed.
Man,
in the
co-
state of
this
Washington.
is what happens
And
when
you
you
got to move to Texas.
Yeah, this is what happens when you don't pay attention. You know,
Yep.
let those people take control of your
Mhm.
Texas House, your Texas Senate, and you slept on them a little bit. And now guess what? Take a look at it now.
So now there's probably going to be an exodus of conservative gun owners who are left in Washington, which is going to, make a further divide in that state in the other direction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you think?
Mm.
If the people who want guns are then probably going to leave, especially if they have a bunch of them, they're like, screw this state. I'm going to Texas, right?
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
Wouldn't you think?
speaking of needing guns, let's stay in Washington State for just a minute.
Oh, do we have to?
Yeah, let's stay there just
Yep.
for a few minutes, and let's talk about the podcast host and her husband who were killed in Washington State by a Texas man who stalked the woman, according to what the police had to say.
I know. I mean, from what it sounds like, he actually went all the way out to Washington State.
Drove to Washington State
to Washington State.
in a big rig, 18-wheeler.
He's a trucker. He drove to Washington State, broke into their home, shot the wife, shot the husband, and then shot himself.
Wow, hammer down. I tell you, you got to be nice to people. You just never know when it's their time. When that's their limit. That's why I walk in. Hey, how you doing? Everything going okay with you? I'm nice to people nowadays. You just never know because when they snap.
Come on, man.
I just want them to give me a pass. That's all I'm saying. Oh, he was nice to me. We're gonna let him go. So that's all. I'm nice to people. Hey, how you doing? Everything okay with you and the kids? All right. That's just gotta be nice to people. Stop being mean to people. Tell them right now, because when it's their time, they're gonna take you and everybody else with them, but they're gonna let me pass. So this is every victim's, every detective's, every police chief's worst nightmare, according to the people there in Washington. Authorities believe the shooter, identified as Raymond, can't even say his last name. That sucker's so long.
Raymond Kodakaram.
Yeah, he's dead. 38, broke into the couple's home in Redmond, about 15 miles northeast of Seattle, through a bedroom window. I tell you, people, I don't know what it is about people coming through bedroom windows, bathroom windows, that second floor. I'm telling you, you live in this two-story house, you need to monitor the second floor windows. I'm telling you right now.
Bars them up.
That's right. My dog started barking. Boy, I grabbed the gun. We ready. I got 3 female pit bulls, and we ready for you. So this guy broke into the couple's home at Redmond through a bedroom window at around 2 a.m. in the morning. The woman's mother encountered the shooter, but escaped and went to a neighbor's house to call 911. So the mother got out, and everyone else is dead. When the officers arrived, they found the woman's husband, 35, with a gunshot wound to the chest. Redmond's police spokesperson said that police performed CPR on the man, but he died from his injury, and the woman, 33, was dead inside the residence, along with the shooter. Man, you got to be nice to people. Just never know.
Well, it's not just that. It's the whole the podcast mentality is a lot of people get connected to their podcasters. I mean,
They do.
You get how many people go? Oh, I know you from the podcast,
Yeah,
and they
that's
come
true.
on in just because the podcast. They're
That
like,
is
I
true.
heard you on
Yeah,
Infowars.
they will show up. Let me tell you, they show up to the door. Hey, I got a present for Alex. Can you do this to Alex Jones for me? Hey, I saw you were on this show here. Can you give this to this guy here for me? No, I can't. But I'm nice to him.
Yeah, no, it's the whole it's the online personality kind of thing that can actually cause some weird connection and it gets twisted. I don't know what it is, but it can get seriously twisted.
Yeah, I love everybody. I love you. I love your whole family. I just want to give all y'all a hug because everybody needs a hug every now and then. God loves you, and I do too. Okay, just so you know. That way they can give me a pass. All right. So let's see. I also want to talk about there's so much going on around. It's
Minnesota
insane.
is just going as bad as Washington. Did you see that bill going
What's
through?
going on in Minnesota?
So they're going to do mandatory storage of firearms with ammunition separate in the safe.
What'd you say, Willis?
Mandatory.
What you talking about, Willis?
So the bill is mandatory storage where your firearms and your ammunition have to be stored separately in the home.
And this is in what state?
Minnesota.
Okay. All right.
My personal figuring out is how are you going to enforce this without violating the right to privacy?
Yeah, how are you going to prove that? Yeah, exactly.
Well, they will have the teachers pull the kids aside in school and say, "Hey, have you seen any guns in your house?"
There's, you know what? It's funny you say that because I was at the doctor, and I sat down. I walked into the doctor's office, and they started asking me these questions. This is my regular doctor. They're like, "Hey, do you own any guns?" I was like, and I got I'm sitting there in the doctor's office with two magazines fully loaded. An empty holster on my right side, concealed carrying 2 pistols, and they're like, "Do you own any guns?" I was like, "No, ma'am. Guns are bad." Let me tell you something, people. You can lie to your doctor. I'm telling you right now. The people that you cannot lie to, don't lie to the judge. Don't lie to police officers that are conducting an investigation. But you can lie to everybody else. I'm telling you, I looked them right in their face. "No, ma'am. Guns are bad. I don't like guns."
No,
with,
Mom
with
and
2
Dad,
magazines and an empty holster and concealing 2 guns. I would not have a gun in my house. They're terrible.
No, Mom and Dad, there are no AR-15s in our house.
Absolutely not. I don't know what it is with people that are, this questioning of people wanting to know if you own any guns or whatever. You don't have to tell them the truth. Absolutely not. Just don't lie to police and don't lie to the judge. That's my advice to you. Let's see. Road rage in Georgia.
Yes.
Georgia folks are getting crazy.
They're almost getting bad as Florida, man.
All right, we come back from the break. We're going to talk about this, a road rage incident in Georgia. An idiot with a gun. We're going to talk about this fool right here when we come back. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
This is Coley on Noir, and you're listening to Come and Talk It with Michael Cargill.
I'm a U.S. Army veteran with a strong sense of duty and respect for our system of government. After 12 years, I was honorably discharged and decided I would fulfill the American dream of entrepreneurship and open up a gun shop in Austin, Texas. At my shop, I teach people to be law-abiding and how to safely use their firearm. On page 46, we're going to talk about Penal Code Section 46.02. The day that ban went into effect, I went into my local ATF in Austin and turned over my bump stock because I'm a law-abiding citizen. But I wasn't going down without a legal fight. So that's why I reached out to NCLA.
NCLA is representing Michael Cargill because federal agencies do not have the power to rewrite statutes. Bump stocks are not machine guns. If Congress wants to change the law and ban bump stocks, it certainly can do so. But we can't have the executive branch rewriting a statute and putting people in jail for up to 10 years.
It's a problem because, this government agency has said, you know what, something that is legal is now illegal, and we're going to confiscate it from you, and we're not going to compensate you for it, and you're going to become a criminal.
The goal of our case here is to tell the ATF that they can't get away with this kind of administrative lawmaking. This isn't constitutionally permissible, and this goes against everything that our nation was founded on.
The bump stock ban turned innocent law-abiding citizens into criminals overnight, even though they were compliant with the statute. And that's not right.
This case is not about where you stand on bump stocks. It's about the rule of law. It's about whether an agency can rewrite a statute and turn a law-abiding citizen into a criminal. If the ATF can ban bump stocks, any agency can ban anything.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
I'm just curious, is there a serial killer in Austin, Texas? Do we have someone going around actually killing young men in Austin, Texas? What I can't find out, I've been asking, I asked our reporters, I asked our police department, these young men being sexually assaulted, when they're finding their bodies, there's some foul stuff going on, what's happening? Are they being drugged? And they're not answering any of those questions. And I think it's very strange and very odd.
Austin is one of the 5 safest big cities in the country.
I found a little timeline of recent activities.
You found one?
Uh-huh.
Oh, do tell. I love my investigator here, Zach, on the case.
July 14th, 2022.
Come and Talk It investigation. Here we go.
Dead body floating in Lady Bird Lake. December 11th, 2022. Body found in Lady Bird Lake. December 19th, homicide at Lady Bird Lake. December 25th, body found in Lady Bird Lake on Christmas. December 28th, second body recovered from Lady Bird Lake within a week. February 14th, body pulled from Lady Bird Lake.
All men.
Yep.
All young men. I'm telling you now, there's a serial killer on Rainy Street in Lady Bird Lake dumping bodies. They haven't found anyone linked to this to figure out what's going on. Serial killer in Austin, Texas. Man. And there was a stabbing down there this past weekend, too. A couple days ago.
Stabbing on Rainy?
Yeah, there's a stabbing on Rainy Street. 2 people were stabbed. Yeah.
What happened?
I don't know. They got stabbed. Seriously. So, yeah, a lot going on. Got to be careful down there on Rainy Street now. Rainy Street's turned into 6th Street.
Yep. Got to be careful in Georgia, too.
Oh, yeah. All right, so let's go back to Georgia. Let's talk about this idiot in Georgia. All right, so, man, an innocent bystander was critically injured after she got caught in the crossfire of a road rage shooting in Hall County this past Wednesday. So, let's see what happened. So, police said 26-year-old Stephen Cooper was in a heated road rage battle with another driver. The incident started along 365 just north of Gainesville, Georgia, when at some point Cooper started shooting at the other driver, Michael Gabriel. So Gabriel was shot and continued to drive south into Gainesville, Georgia, where he stopped and called police. He sustained minor injuries. Now, investigators said a third driver minding her own business, 65-year-old Paula Blackwell, was shot and critically injured. A Hall County deputy caught the tail end of the incident and was able to stop the suspect until Gainesville police arrived. Now, man, I tell you.
Woosa.
Yeah,
and when you're in a car, just woosa.
It's not that serious.
No.
Someone cuts you off, let it go. I mean, 9 times out of 10, they're probably not even paying attention to what's going on. And they cut you off, maybe swerve a little bit. Maybe they're yelling at kids. You just never know.
Exactly.
And you take it so personal. What is going on in your life that everything is so personal? Let it go. You're sitting. Matter of fact,
Relax.
if you're sitting on I-35 right now, you're driving through Austin, Texas. You're driving through Texas, and someone cuts you off, swerving that lane a little bit. Just let it go. It's not so serious. Let it go.
Relax.
Just let it go. Just back off the gas. And just relax. It's not so serious. Life is too short. Just throw him a kiss. Chill. Yeah, it's not so serious. All right.
Speaking of life being short, we need to honor this guy. Oh man,
Which one is that?
Oh, that would be Lance Rhetoric. Passed away at 60. Famous for The Wire. He was the hotel manager in all 4 John Wick films.
You mean tell me the hotel manager of John Wick?
Yep.
That was what was the name of the hotel? It was called
oh gosh.
God, what was the hotel in John Wick?
Oh man.
Because I remember him.
Continental.
Yeah, the Continental. Yeah. He was Caron, the
That's
hotel
right.
manager. He was Caron. Yeah.
That's right. He's the one that kept the dog. The dog.
Yeah, he was the one who kept the dog.
Yeah, he babysat
He was like the
dog.
ferryman. He was like the ferryman.
He was, man.
But yeah, he was also in
so nice and polite.
He was in The West Wing. He was in he was in The Wire. Let's see, what else was he in? He plays a couple of he was in White House Down.
Wow.
He was voice actor in several video games such as Horizon Zero Dawn and Destiny 2, which is a good friend of mine's game.
So how did he die?
Natural causes, supposedly.
At 60 years old.
60.
Ooh, you're trying to scare me now. I'm 54. All right. Well, I'm not down with natural causes. I'm here to stay. I will be here till I'm 90. I'm telling you, right? I'll be here till 96.
You better be.
That's right. Standing over everybody's grave.
We need you, Mike.
I'll be here. I'm not going nowhere. You're not getting rid of me till death do us part.
Gonna hold you to it.
Do it.
If
All right.
you die, gonna resuscitate you. All right.
Bring me back. I want to be brought back. Leave me on life support forever. Do not remove the plug.
Cryo-freeze.
That's what I'm.
Cryogenics.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. Okay. Don't remove the plug. Leave me on life support. Keep the oxygen flowing. Is what I'm trying to say.
Just freeze dry him.
That's right. I want to stay here forever.
Freeze dry him like Michael Myers
until the cure comes along. So keep me flowing. All right. Keep me nice and warm and on ice and do everything. Warm and on ice. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. Okay. All right. So, man, I've been watching a new TV show called The Good Doctor. That's right. I've been watching The Good Doctor. Have you heard of The Good Doctor?
You're talking about Ron Paul?
No, it's a TV series called The Good Doctor.
Come on, man. I only know one good doctor.
No?
Actually, maybe two. Dr. Rand
You got to
Paul,
Google
too.
this. Google it. It's called The Good Doctor. Google it. I've been watching that show. That has helped me. It's helped me, deal with, my inner demons, and it's helped me deal with the issues of, trying not to choke the life of employees. It's a very good show, and it has helped me deal with, just dealing with my employees. It's really helped me, and it's called The Good Doctor. Have you guys not heard about this show?
Maybe that's what your road rage drivers need to watch.
Exactly, they really do. Yes, you need to watch these shows, because they will help you. And The Good Doctor has helped me. It's helped me, control, my, some of my anger and frustrations with my employees, and and I've come to a realization, that I need to be a little more, just chill and relax just a little bit. Don't take life so serious. Are you looking at it, The Good Doctor? You're not looking at it, are you?
You're talking about Freddie Highmore, Dr. Sean Murphy?
Yeah, Dr. Sean Murphy. Yes, it helped me deal. Just watching that show, it helped me deal with Matthew. Yes, because
Call him out.
Yes, because the Good Doctor, he has autism. He's autistic.
Autism. Autism.
So he's autistic, and so he's a very special. He's on the spectrum, and it's helped me deal with him.
Are you insinuating something?
No, not at all. Not at all. Not at all. I'm just saying.
Saying it outright.
That's right. What I'm saying is, this show is really good because this guy he's autistic, and he's very smart, very good at what he does. He thinks things through, very methodical. And it just reminds me of Matthew. And it's like, wow, now I understand Matthew. And while I need to just relax and chill and just deal with Matthew, because, Matthew drives me nuts sometimes, but it helps me out by watching The Good Doctor. And so I settle down just a little bit. So you have to walk into Central Texas Gunworks to understand what we're talking about. Because let me tell you, after a cup of coffee, after 2 cups of coffee, I'm telling you right now, he's usually bouncing off the ceiling. And I'm telling you, watching The Good Doctor has calmed me down.
It's better than if I'm not on coffee.
No.
No, you don't want me off coffee.
No, I like you off coffee.
No, because then I'm actually staring at the shotgun wall going, oh, that looks like, is there a spider crawling up on
I
the
like you
ceiling?
staring at the wall.
Well, then I'm not really interacting with customers. I forget what I'm doing.
That's fine. I'm telling you right now, because it's like when we're in class and we're going over the paperwork in class, I have this little routine. If you've ever sat through our license to carry handgun course, you've heard my little routine. Okay, everybody check your paperwork. Just verify that your last name is spelled correctly, your first name is spelled correctly, your middle initial. Check your driver's license number. Make sure the state's correct. Make sure there's no digit mentioned in your number, because I'm telling you, Matthew did the paperwork and he's on the spectrum.
Yes,
So,
this is actually true.
It's
I
very-
hear this every single Thursday and every single
yes,
Saturday.
but in all fairness, he is very good at what he does. He's a good employee. He just drives me nuts sometimes.
Knows a lot about guns.
Yes, and I just have to learn how to deal with him. Reaching my inner self, and I realized that I need to, try a little harder myself to help. I need to understand him a little more, and the good doctor does that for me. All right.
So we need to figure out how to figure out freedom.
Well, that's a whole nother show. That's a whole nother show. We're gonna have a reality show, Central Texas Gunworks. Let me tell you right now, an entire reality. All right, so what else is going on out there? So we have, let's see, stolen gun found by a felon.
Yep. Nope. He
With
is
parole,
a felon.
with parole violation.
Yep.
Okay, so so this is in
This is
Pennsylvania.
interesting.
Let's go to Pennsylvania. So Salem Township Police Department is touting the success of what they call a proactive police work after an armed robbery suspect wanted in Philadelphia was arrested during a traffic stop in Bucks County town. Authorities say that on Tuesday, just before 10 a.m., patrol officers saw a 2013 Ford Edge commit a violation while going south on Route 1. Now, according to the police, the officers initiated a traffic stop and made contact with 40-year-old Dio Garcia from Philadelphia. A check of the crime system revealed the car Garcia was driving was listed as a felony vehicle with an occupant wanted for a point-of-gun robbery. Police say Garcia was wanted out of Florida on a warrant for a probation violation. Garcia was taken to custody, and the Ford Edge was towed by police. Now, after the search warrant was obtained for the vehicle, a search led to the find a container of suspected marijuana and a loaded .40 caliber Beretta handgun. The gun was reported stolen out of Delaware and matched the description of the weapon used in an armed robbery in Philadelphia. And police say Garcia faces several charges in Philadelphia and are obtaining an arrest warrant for the gunpoint robbery.
So here's what we got. We have felon from Philadelphia commits some sort of violation that gives him probation in Florida, which he then violates, somehow obtains a gun and stolen gun from Delaware and uses it in Philadelphia again.
Good Lord.
This guy's all over the map.
Crazy, huh?
It goes to show you that the majority of firearms that are used in crimes are not sold by gun stores. They're stolen.
So lock your guns in, remove your guns from your vehicle every night. That's the number one reason why we get firearms traces in the gun store, because people leave their guns in their vehicle, their cars are broken into, their guns are stolen. So please remove your guns from your vehicle every night, because at 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, that's all people do is break windows, break into cars, and steal guns. So don't leave them in your vehicle. All right. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Peace, this is Maj Toure. You're listening to Come and Talk It Radio with Michael Cargill.
Whether it's a typical traffic stop or you're just involved in a use of force incident, encounters with law enforcement can be scary and stressful. In the heat of the moment, you may inadvertently say something you don't mean or make an inconsistent statement. These are red flags for officers, and if they think you're lying or your story doesn't add up, they might arrest you and let the criminal justice system decide your fate. Police officers are trained to get information from you without making the interaction seem like a formal interrogation. But remember, from the moment an officer arrives on scene, everything you say and everything you do will be scrutinized in court. The prosecuting attorney will attempt to use anything and everything against you. So what do you say? You say, "I invoke my right to remain silent," and then let your attorney interact with law enforcement on your behalf. One important note though, do not throw common sense out the window. For example, if the intruder's hiding somewhere in your house when the police arrive, or if you saw the perpetrator pitch his weapon into your backyard. Quickly tell the police and then stop talking. You might ask, what about my rights? What if the police never read me my Miranda rights? Miranda rights is the common name for a collection of rights contained in the Miranda warnings, given to suspects when they're placed under arrest. The warning comes from a 1966 Supreme Court case, Miranda v. Arizona. In that case, the court held that statements from a custodial interrogation would not be admissible unless proper procedural safeguards were in place to protect the defendant's Fifth Amendment rights. We've all seen these warnings on TV and movies. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to have an attorney. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law, and so on. So do police have to read you your rights? No. It's important to note that officers are not required to read you these rights unless you're in custody and subjected to interrogation. If the police show up to a crime scene and start asking you general questions and you voluntarily tell them everything that happened, those statements can be used against you regardless of the Miranda warnings because you're not in custody. If you're put in handcuffs but you say something incriminating on your own without being questioned, those statements can and will be used against you because you're not being interrogated. You're just starting to spout off. This is why it's imperative that you know your rights and you shouldn't rely on the police to read them to you. Affirmatively invoke your rights. Say, I'm invoking my right to remain silent and my right to my attorney. Once you do that, the police legally shouldn't continue questioning you without your attorney present. But remember, there's a second part to this equation. After invoking your rights, you must exercise those rights. That means you have to keep your mouth closed. Protect yourself. Don't let the legal system take advantage of you after an incident. And Law Shield members, if you've been involved in a self-defense incident, remember to call the emergency hotline.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so the President of the United States announced his executive order to reduce gun violence and make the community safe.
Come on, man.
Yeah, so earlier this week in Monterey Park, California, President Biden announced an executive order with the goal of increasing the number of background checks conducted before firearm sales, moving the U.S. as close to universal background checks as possible without additional legislation.
Enough.
In other words, he's trying to break the law is what he's trying to do.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, you're not.
Yeah. Low dog, ponytail, what is it? What's that phrase? How's
You're
it
a
go?
lion, dog, face, pony soldier.
Yeah, lion, dog, face, pony soldier you are. The executive order will also keep, according to the president, keep more guns out of dangerous hands by increasing the effective use of red flag laws, strengthening efforts to hold the gun industry accountable. They're trying to accelerate law enforcement efforts to identify and apprehend the shooters, menacing communities. The president is also encouraging the Federal Trade Commission to ensure a public report analyzing how gun manufacturers market firearms to minors.
Corn Pop was a bad dude.
Look, gun manufacturers don't advertise the minors. Okay?
No, and don't even get me started with video games because believe me, the gun industry has gone after EA Entertainment for copyright infringement. Colt actually did this, and several other companies did, for actually having their brand names on firearms in the game without royalties being paid. Meaning all those games like Battlefield, Call of Duty had to kind of modify the guns to look different and completely rename them to avoid being slapped with copyright infringement from Mossberg, Colt, Daniel Defense, LWRCI, and several other companies. So it's not the gun industry doing this.
Yeah. And, and I think it was a big trick. I think people like Senator John Cornyn were kind of tricked by the president in doing that safer, what is it called? The Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. I think they were tricked in getting that passed because you got to remember, once you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile.
Mm-hmm.
So what they're claiming this is the most, that Bipartisan Safer Communities Act is the most significant gun violence reduction legislation that's been enacted in 30 years, according to the president. And what they're trying to do is they're going to get, I'm telling you, this is a warning. Pay attention to this. You're going to see in the coming days, months, it will be with this year, 2023. You're going to see the Department of Justice, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms come out and they're going to say, guess what? If you sell 5 guns or more in a 12-month period, you're considered a dealer, and they're gonna come after you as being a dealer who's committing a felony, who's selling guns.
Selling guns without the authorized
Watch.
licensing.
I'm telling you right now, mark my words. It will be 5 guns in a 12-month period. I'm telling you right now, that's what it's going to be. 5 guns in a 12-month period. If you sell them, that means that, let's say someone in your family dies and they leave you 20, 30 guns, whatever it is, and you decide you want to sell those guns. If you sell more than five guns or more, that is 5 guns or more in a 12-month period, you're considered a dealer, and they're going to come after you and charge you with a felony if they find out.
This makes me wonder what happens if you go to a gun store or a pawn shop and say, look, I would like to sell this to you. I'm not comfortable going private sale. Are you still considered a dealer because you're actually selling to a dealer?
Yes, they're not going to let you do it. I'm telling you right now. Mark my words. It's coming down. You're going to see it happening. This is what happened. This all started under the Trump administration. You let the ATF take an inch, and they will take a mile. They let the Trump administration come out and ban bump stocks. That was the test case right there. Once they banned the bump stocks, and they came after everything else, little inch, and now here we are, 5 miles down the road.
Mm-hmm.
Tell you now. Last year, President Biden signed into law the Bipartisan Safer Communities Act. And so he called on Congress to seize the bipartisan momentum and advance additional what they're calling common sense steps to reduce gun violence. Again and again, he has called for Congress to act, including the banning of what they're calling assault weapons and high-capacity magazines, requiring background checks for all gun sales. Let me tell you something, folks. That term, universal background checks, that is a very dangerous term. Universal background checks. Just think about that. Universal background checks. So let's say, let's take a look at what our laws are and how this stuff works. All right, so if you are 18, 19, and 20 years old, you can actually be a security officer and work in the state of Texas as an armed security guard at 18, 19, or 20. But you cannot purchase a handgun from a gun store until you turn 21. If you pass universal background checks, that 18, 19, 20-year-old will not be able to get their hands on the handgun to work as a security officer because they won't be able to get it because you'll have universal background checks. All background checks will have to be done in the gun store, but you can't pass a background check unless you're 21 or up. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And currently right now, 18, 19, 20-year-olds in Texas can get a license to carry a handgun and concealed carry a handgun. Only way they get their hands on the handgun is a private sale or a gift. If you pass universal background checks, that 18, 19, 20-year-old who can get a license to carry a handgun and carry a gun will not be able to get their hands on a handgun because they can't walk to the gun store and pass the background check because you have to be 21.
Because the gifting has to be background checked.
That's
what
right.
Everybody's going through.
A convicted felon at the 5 years can get their hands on a firearm and have it at home for personal protection. You know, you've been convicted of a felony. You paid your debt to society. You know, and we all know, you know, there are certain communities that are over-policed. Okay, let me use some code words here. Okay, here's a code word for you: over-policed. I'm gonna be nice today because you know what? My angel's with me, sitting on my shoulder. My angel's whispering in my ear, Michael, you need to be nice. Okay, so I'm gonna be nice. I'm gonna say over-policed communities. Well, these over-policed communities, these people are getting put in the system, and so guess what? If you're convicted of a felony, you paid your debt to society. You know, you said, oh, okay, I've gone to jail. I did my time. I did what the court asked me to do. Is 5 years later, the state of Texas says, guess what? You can have a gun at home for personal protection after 5 years. But guess what? If you pass universal background checks, you're not going to be able to get your hands on that firearm because the only way you can get your hands on a gun right now as a convicted felon at the 5 years and have the gun at home for personal protection is as a private sale as a gift. But if you pass universal background checks, all gun sales will have to be done in the gun store.
Technically, they've actually just nailed that to the curb with a brand new background check form. If you look at it.
Oh yeah. Take a look. Yeah, pull up that form and read that.
Zach, pull up the form, the brand new 4473 form.
I don't know if it'll come up.
Brand new 4473.
Yeah, I don't think it'll come up on the. For some reason, it doesn't come up. You know,
Question 21A is this gun for, or is a transferee buyer or
Are you the actual
transferee
transferee buyer of all the firearms listed on this form?
Mm-hmm.
not
Number 21B.
it's 21B.
Now says,
do you intend to
intent-
purchase or acquire any firearm listed on this form and any continuation sheet or ammunition for sale or other disposition to any person described in question 21C, which is a convicted felon or prohibited person? 21, I'm sorry, that's 21C through M. So anyone that's 21C through M, the state of Texas says, hey, I can give this gun to, I can give my gun to someone who's a convicted felon after 5 years. I can do a private sale or give it to them as a gift. But they're saying on the ATF, the federal government saying that if you do that,
you've just lied on your form.
You just lied on your form and you're a felon.
No, not if you do that. If you intend
to do
that
right
at the time of filling out the form.
So do you intend to sell or otherwise dispose of any firearm listed on this form in any continuation sheet or ammunition in furtherance of any felony or other offense punishable by imprisonment for a term of more than 1 year, a federal crime of terrorism, or a drug trafficking offense? This is a brand new question that's on the form right now.
Yep.
Boy, I tell you, it's coming in.
Mm-hmm.
It's coming in. Very dangerous.
You
Very
might
dangerous.
not, so private sales you might not intend to, but the problem with most of your private sales is people are so nervous about selling to the wrong person, they'll want to do it at a gun store anyway.
Also, you do know that if you're younger than 21 years of age, because of what the bill that they passed last year in 2022, that you're getting delayed anywhere from 10 to 20 days in the gun store. So your best bet, people, is to get your license to carry handguns so you can bypass that system. People are like, I'm not getting my license. I don't want the government knowing what's going on. But I tell you what, you walk into the gun store and you purchase a gun, we're going to contact the FBI, let them know that you're buying a gun, do a background check on you. But guess what? If you have your LTC, we don't contact the FBI to let them know you're in the gun store picking up a gun because your background check's already been done. So stop letting these idiots on Facebook and social media tell you, don't talk you not into getting a license. The license is the one thing that's going to keep you from being pinged in the federal government system.
The only state agency that's ever dealing with license to carry checks is Department of Public Safety. All those checks for applications for a license to carry is done in-house. It's done in-state, and it stays in-state unless something comes up in another state, like a warrant for traffic violation.
The only way they can find out what guns you have, if you walk into Texas, a gun store in Texas, you buy 2 handguns of more than a 5-day period, or 2 rifles or shotguns more than a 5-day period, then they know what guns you have. They have the serial number, the make, and the model of those guns, and that stuff is being sent in to the FBI and put in a system where every law enforcement agency is actually been sent to the chief law enforcement officer in the county where you live in.
Sheriff.
But if you buy 1 gun here, 1 gun there, I can't tell you this in the gun store. You walk in the gun store, you ask me, I can't tell you. I'm going to lie to you. I'm telling you right now. Don't ask me this question. Listen to what I'm telling you on the radio show. You buy 2 handguns more than a 5-day period, 2 rifles or shotguns more than a 5-day period. You report to the FBI and every and the chief law enforcement officer in the county that you live in. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Hi, this is Stephen Williford, the Barefoot Defender. I get my global gun news from Michael Cargill at Come and Talk It.
He didn't act that way. He never flinched. He went for his pockets. And when he went for his pockets, I thought my heart was going to stop. I mean, Hi, my name's Jerry. The incident we're going to talk about took place in early March of 2017. Started back about 3 years ago. We had a fella in the neighborhood that nobody really knew. We weren't familiar with him, and he was pretty regular about speeding up and down the street. It escalated into more speeding, threats. He chunked some rocks up into the yard, broke my windshield in my truck, and it escalated from that into death threats. And he was constantly chirping about how he was gonna end it, and he was gonna kill so-and-so, he was gonna kill me, and it was all chirping. The day of the confrontation, I was leaving the neighborhood and heading to a meeting downtown Fort Worth. It was a beautiful day. I had my windows down. I was in my Suburban As I was heading out, just about to leave my neighborhood, this guy comes into the neighborhood, sees me coming out, pulls into my lane, causes me to stop, and then he kind of cut at an angle in front of me and jumped out of his truck and ran at the side of my Suburban, saying, "Today's the day you're going to die. He's going to end it." He comes over and he's slamming his hands up against the side of my vehicle, my truck. But he's screaming at me, telling me he's going to kill me. He's going to end it. This is the day I'm going to die. He reaches in to try and open up my door. I grabbed my weapon. I put my weapon right at his chest at the window and told him to get back, told him to get the hell back. And he never did. He never moved. He never changed anything. He went for his pockets, shuffling into his pockets, and he pulls out his cell phone. I drove off around and called 911 before I got to the end of my street. Yeah, I've carried a weapon for pretty near 20 years, and I've never had to pull my weapon out. Now, I can tell you that when you do that, it's the emotions are incredible. You feel the flush come through your body because you just pulled a weapon on somebody, you're pointing a gun at somebody, and they don't move. And that's a whole nother, they didn't say, "Whoa, I'm stop," like anybody that you'd think would do that, but he didn't act that way. He never flinched. He went for his pockets, and when he went for his pockets, I thought my heart was going to stop. I was actually told that if he would have pulled out a gun, he'd have shot me before I could have actually pulled the trigger, and that's pretty awakening. I contacted Texas Law Shield and spoke with them and got a statement that I wrote, and I turned it in the following day. And it was subsequent to that I was told that I was going to be arrested for deadly conduct, and Texas Law Shield stepped up to the plate, and they got in my corner and handled it from there.
Factually, the case was unique because Jerry never got out of his vehicle, but was still forced to pull his weapon and defend himself. And you don't see that often. Usually, a self-defense case, both people are outside the vehicle.
They ended up arresting me. Texas Law Shield got me out in a matter of a very few hours. They called me on a regular basis and stayed in touch with me and kept me up to speed on what the progress was, but the delays took about 1.5 years before we got to trial.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
Little minor changes on the 4473. So when you walk to the gun store nowadays, take your time, take a look at the form, and look at and see what the changes are and answer those questions. All right, so if you answer those questions wrong, we're going to deny you from walking out with that firearm. Question 25, qualifying gun show or event. They've added the address, county, and zip code. Question 26B, they changed if identification document does not show current residence address or full legal name to if identification document does not show current residence address or legal name. Question 26C, changed the PCS base state and state where the person is if they're in the military. Question 26D, this question now refers to item 21.N.2, exception to the non-immigrant alien prohibition. Question 27C, next to the delayed checkbox, a new checkbox has been added. This is for FFL dealers. The firearm may be transferred on blank date if time period is not extended by NICS. And 26D, notice of additional delay of transferee under 21. So they added an extra section in there if you're under 21 because you can be delayed an extra amount of time. It's not just 3 business days. You can be delayed up to like 20 days and really indefinitely.
Yes,
we've been seeing this already. I've been seeing people delayed over 20 days already.
Oh yeah, it's happened. I'll have to give them a call. Hey, your background check just came back, and they extended your delay period until this day.
So,
and for my out-of-staters who are coming in, who are just moved to the state, I know of no gun store right now that is accepting utility bills, accepting vehicle registration forms, accepting anything other than an actual proper plastic ID to show your current residency. So you're going to have to either slog through getting your driver's license taken care of, which is a pain because you have to get your car registered, you have to get your insurance transitioned over, and you have to set up an appointment that is at least a month out. Or come to us. We give you a $65 class for about 6 hours, walk you through the ins and outs of Texas law, get you squared away for your application to stay in Texas for that license to carry, get you squared away for the fingerprinting, teach you all that, get you all that stuff set to go, give you a piece of paper that shows how to actually set up a out of state documentation extra piece of little step that you have to do, which is what is it? It's passport photo, ID, passport photo.
Yeah, it's very simple. You get your license to carry handgun from Texas. There's your ID right there. You can use that ID, for us to
Yeah.
complete the paperwork.
Yeah, the piece of because it's given to you by the Department of Public Safety. It has your current address
And
on
we
it.
can use that as an ID. We're still gonna have to do the background check because you need two forms of ID. You need a driver's license and an LTC to bypass the background check system. We can't use the LTC in both spots.
Yeah.
We can use the LTC if that's all you have is an ID, and then we run your background
Mhm.
check.
But that is your purchasing permit until you get your driver's license changed over. So that's kind of a little cushion.
Yeah. All right. So some other changes. 21K has been changed. A person is not prohibited from receiving or possession of firearm if that person, one, has been convicted of a federal or state offense pertaining to antitrust violations. They kind of changed it a little bit. And they said a person is not prohibited from receiving or possessing a firearm if that person, one, has been convicted of any federal or state offenses pertaining to antitrust violations, unfair trade practices, restraints of trade, or other similar offenses relating to the regulation of business practices. Number two, has been convicted of a state misdemeanor punishable by imprisonment of 2 years or less. Number three, of following a conviction of any felony or other crime for which the judge could have imprisoned the person for more than 1 year, or a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence, has received a pardon, an expungement, or set aside of the conviction, or has lost and regain civil rights, the right to vote, sit on a jury, and hold public office in the jurisdiction in which the conviction occurred. And the law of the convicting jurisdiction does not prohibit the person from receiving or possessing firearms. Also, a person who has no more than one conviction of a misdemeanor crime of domestic violence against an individual in a dating relationship and is not otherwise prohibited under this chapter is not prohibited if 5 years have elapsed from conviction or completion of the person's custodial or supervisory sentence, whichever occurs later, and the person has not subsequently been convicted of any other misdemeanor crime of violence or any other offense that would disqualify the person under 18 U.S.C. A person subjected to any of these exceptions or who receive relief from disabilities under Section 925C should answer no to the applicable question. And that's going to be for question 21K on the form. So some things, definitely some changes have been made here.
Read slowly.
Yeah, it's question 22. A person is engaged in the business of dealing in firearms if she devotes time, attention, and labor to dealing in firearms as a regular course of trade or business and predominantly earn a profit through the repetitive purchase and resale of firearms. So they've changed that wording a little bit. A person is engaged in the business of dealing in firearms if he or she devotes time, attention, and labor to dealing with firearms as a regular course of trade or business through the repetitive purchase and resale of firearms. The question, you're certifying, by signing, you're certifying that information. So I'm telling you, some changes have been
Gun
made.
broker's going to get hit hard. Texas gun trader's going to get hit hard. Arms list is going to get hit hard. Because half of those are just private people who are just wanting to offload stuff half the time. Or they're doing custom stuff that they're trying to, maybe it's one custom job that they're trying to do and make a little bit of money off it.
Absolutely. All right. Boy, I tell you, I got my friend Cody Wilson. We're going to get him to call into the show because I need Cody to tell me about this defense distributed case. He's been ducking and diving me, but we're gonna talk to him a little bit. Right there, Cody? All right. All right. So Cody's going to call into the show. He's going to tell us about this defense distributed case and what's going on. We're going to talk to Cody Wilson after this next break because we need to find out what's going on with defense distributed.
Mhm.
I need to know. Inquiring minds want to know. Can we get ghost guns? What is it? What's that case about? Is it about
Frames and receivers.
frames and receivers?
I believe it's about frames and receivers.
About 80s.
Is 80%?
80%ers, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, speaking of 80%ers, this case is actually not involving an 80% lower. This case is involving a full-on homemade air gun, which, according to the ATF, would be considered in any other weapon because you're taking standard components that you'd find at the hardware store and putting them together. This is not a parts kit that you buy online where it's like the barrel, the upper, the springs and the trigger all assembled, and you 3D print just the lower frame from plastic and just put it all in. This is taking like PVC piping, a air compressor, a homemade trigger assembly out of bed of nails or whatnot. It's kind of like that thing that the Japanese man used to assassinate that one guy in Japan. Remember what you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
That 4-barreled
On
shotgun.
video, right?
Yeah, the 4-barreled shotgun that was run on electric batteries.
Yeah.
So anyway, this guy has just been officially convicted in Philadelphia of murdering a person a woman he was having an affair with a homemade air gun.
Wow.
Lehigh County deliberated for less than 3 hours before convicting 41-year-old Joseph Razzler in the September 6, 2016 murder of 46-year-old Stephanie Roof. And he was arrested after investigators concluded he had built a powerful hair gun out of pipes and high-pressure canisters and used it to shoot the mother of the four in the chest in her driveway with a large projectile he fashioned out of lead.
Nice. All right. You know what? I want to change gears a little bit. I want to talk about defense distributed. So let's go to the phone line. Cody Wilson, my good friend. What's up, Cody there? Sure.
Hey, man.
How you doing?
The name of that guy in Japan was Shinzo Abe. He was a prime minister of Japan. Former prime minister, anyway. And not just because he was dead. But, yeah. Hey, what's up?
Man, what is going on with you?
Hey, Cody.
Hey, howdy.
All
well,
right.
I'm just enjoying, Mike, the fruits of my injunction against the ATF.
You and everybody else.
The judge hasn't given very many injunctions out in this case.
No.
The case is called Vanderstock, by the way, for everybody listening at home. And Defense Distributed was just the latest plaintiff to get the injunction in that case, and it is against the ATF's new frame or receiver rule, which is not talked about much, although it's the reason he did that executive order in the news last week, because he realized he's not going to be able to regulate kit guns in the mail anymore. So Paul Morady and these other people, they're gonna try to get injunctions too. Basically, the way the liberal press is reporting it, and look, I'm repeating myself by calling it the liberal press, but the way they're reporting it is the rule is crumbling. Everything's going to be exactly as it was before. 80% receivers and kit guns in the mail. It's all going to be back to where it was. Everybody can make unserialized guns on the cheap, buying it online.
All right, hold on there a second, Cody, because I wanted you to go back a little bit. I want to find out what court was this? You know, was this the appellate court? You know, tell us a little bit more, and then I want you to tell us a little bit about the president and what he said, and a little more of why this is all coming about. We come back from the break. We're talking with Cody Wilson. We're talking about Defense Distributed. This is Michael Cargill, and you are listening to Come and Talk It.
Folks, this is Doug Man Jones. And I get my gun news from Michael Cargill at Come and Talk It.
Hello, my name is Edwin Walker. I'm an independent program attorney with Texas Law Shield. I want to talk to you today about an issue that we see on a daily basis. In fact, you yourself will encounter it on a daily basis, and that is the subject of road rage. I am sure that you have all seen road rage. You may have actually been involved in a road rage incident. Now, if you're a responsible gun owner, I'm going to give you a few words of advice on how to react when you find yourself in one of these unfortunate road rage incidents. While on the roadways, we all observe something that makes us upset. Whether it's poor driving, unsafe driving, or just simply somebody being very discourteous. By all means, you should restrain yourself from engaging that person and telling them how bad their actions were, because this can be perceived as an act of road rage. If you're a lawful gun owner, you have a firearm in your vehicle, you do not want to be viewed as the aggressor in a road rage situation. Now, with regard to a situation where an individual has chosen to rage against you, and you are the actual victim of the road rage, if you and the other individuals are still in their automobiles, do not use your firearm to respond to any of the rager's activities. This is because law enforcement views the fact that you're both still safely in your metal boxes as removing any threat of immediacy that you may be harmed. So please, if you have a gun, somebody is raging against you, forget you have a gun. Don't display it, don't brandish it, don't show it, don't point it, and for God's sake, don't fire it. This could result in a lot of trouble for you. Now let's look at a situation where a road rage incident has escalated.
Welcome back to Come and Talk It. And now here's Michael Cargill.
All right, so we're on the phone with Cody Wilson, Defense Distributed, and he's telling us about a court case that just had a big win there, Cody. So tell us about it.
Hey, man. Northern District of Texas. The judge is O'Connor. The case is called Vanderstock v. Garland.
And who is Vanderstock?
Vanderstock is a party connected to Tactical Machining. They're a 80% company up in northern Texas.
Okay.
FPC, Firearms Policy Coalition, helped them come as the first plaintiff.
And when you say northern Texas, are we talking Fort Worth? We're talking Amarillo?
Yeah, Fort Worth.
Okay.
Judge Reed O'Connor, Fort Worth, good place, Trump judge.
Great place.
And this was the last case filed opposing Joe Biden's new framer receiver rule that the ATF has been working on the last couple of years.
Now, before you go any further, this case here, has it gone to the Fifth Circuit?
No, still at summary judgment.
Got it.
In the Northern District.
Okay.
And a lot of people come in and try to intervene as plaintiffs.
Right.
And that includes 80% Arms. Polymer 80's now intervened. They're the biggest name in the space. JSD Supply, they're pretty well known up in Pennsylvania.
So everybody must be a part of this lawsuit is basically what you're saying. Because they want to be a part of it because they want to be able to sell them.
That's right. A bunch of companies sued in a bunch of places when the rule came out, but none of the courts cared. And the case is actually pretty, even if you haven't heard of it in the public, it's pretty important because the ATF just kind of, like they did with braces and like they did with bump stocks, like Mike, the ATF just kind of wrote its own rules saying, actually, firearm means a whole lot more other things than the statute says. It even means, things that aren't firearms.
Now, in your argument, did you guys use the Cargill v. Garland case?
I don't think we refer to Cargill v. Garland. We did refer to Bruin, though. We're the only party to refer to Bruin. Sorry, man. There's a plane overhead right now.
That's okay.
But we make an administrative procedure point like you make, and so it wouldn't surprise me if your case is referenced. And, of course, your case is relevant. So on appeal, because some people, the ATF is already appealing some of these injunctions. So on appeal, people are referencing your case.
Right.
Because it's going to the Fifth Circuit finally. And so for the reasons you want and more, we expect the ATF will lose its ability to determine what a firearm is now. And that's amazing because, basically they overplayed their hand. They bet and they lost, They wanted to push it as far as they could and say, even, blocks of metal and stuff might be guns. No. It's like you live in a world of things. which are guns and not guns. And ATF can decide what a gun is, but it can't say, it can't say an unfinished frame is also a finished frame. It has to be one or the other,
Right.
And that's the case. And so my company just got an injunction there. That's great because the rule had made all these like weird consequences where you can only choose to sell like fixtures or tooling or frames, but you can't sell all three because somehow if you sell them all together, somehow you've violated the GCA, even though none of that's a gun. So, it was a little touchy there for like 7 months. But yeah, we got the injunction. And in my case, it's better than Tactical Machining and 80% Arms getting the injunction because, our company, Defense Distributed, we try to create new technology and new types of guns and gun kits that the ATF's never even seen before.
Now, so this means that only those people that are named in the lawsuit are going to be able to sell them. Correct?
For now. These are all preliminary injunctions. And that's what's frustrating about it. So Polymer 80 and all these people, man, their business is really on the line.
Now, what am I going to be able to purchase? What items are these going to cover?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, if I was a good businessman, I would have already told you that.
That's okay.
So, you can go to our websites like ghostgunner.net, and we have equipment there that finishes 80% receivers. You can buy the 80% receivers. We also have products called 0% receivers, which can be finished on the Ghost Gunner. You can buy all that too. And now we're going to roll out a couple new products because the ATF has basically been forbidden from even giving its opinion on whether our products are legal or not.
Now, how does this affect the gun store? So, because you guys are a distributor, so me being a gun store, can I buy them and then turn around and resell them?
Yeah, of course you can as an FFL. What's funny is we've kept the lane open for people that don't have FFLs or are not gun stores because we're trying to sell things that aren't guns.
Okay.
You feel me? So, you can sell 5-hour energy, right? That's not a gun. So same difference, man. Doesn't matter that you're a gun store. You can sell anything that's not a gun, I assume. And that's just the case with these products. ATF was trying to say a whole bunch of new stuff are also guns, and that's absurd. And also, this is why Joe Biden just went out last week and had to act like he tightened up the background check system.
Yeah, I mean, what was all that about? He comes out and he says that, hey, we're gonna go as close as we can to universal background checks, and I'm like, what does that mean?
Yeah, dude, I'm a little worried about what that means. I think it has something to do with the Cornyn bill that they passed, where they kind of made a new definition of dealer, maybe.
Yeah, well, they made a fool out of Senator John Cornyn, is what you're talking about.
Yeah, Cornyn showed up, and of course, like everybody said, they were going to twist what they did. And so, yes, here again, ATF and Joe are going to twist some stuff in that bill.
You know what they're going to do, Cody? Here's what they're going to do. Mark my words. The DOJ is going to come out. They're going to push the ATF to do this. They're going to say, if you sell 5 guns or more in a 12-month period, you're a dealer, and we're coming after you. That's what we're going to do.
Yeah, I think I read in Zero Hedge that they were going to do that.
That's exactly what they're going to do. I already know.
I heard they want to expand the definition of in the business to everything, basically. So I don't know how they can do that, but, here we are already in receivers and bump stocks and, how'd they do any of it to begin with?
Right.
So nothing will surprise me. They want background checks real bad. Universal background checks real bad.
And we talked about that. Universal background checks, I mean, my goodness, you're a convicted felon. You paid your debts to society. You're going to be screwed. Because after 5 years, Texas says you can have a gun at home for personal protection. But guess what? If they pass universal background checks, you're not going to be able to get your hands on a gun at all.
Man, I know. And then, of course, the new thing is to expand misdemeanors and add all this other stuff in there that aren't even felonies.
Right.
And, and I'm sympathetic maybe to some of it, but it's they just keep coming up with new ways that your Second Amendment right totally defined.
At 18 years old, you can have a gun in your vehicle, concealed in your vehicle in Texas. But if they pass universal background checks, you're not going to be able to get your hands on a gun.
Man. And then you see how it's going in Florida.
Right.
They're coming up with all these reasons for why you can't have a gun until you're 21.
Right.
They're just chewing at it. So my opinion is, my definition is no. If ATF is trying to do it or they're trying to do it with an executive order, it's illegal.
Right.
Because we've already been here, man. We've been passing laws on this stuff.
Been here, done that. Got the novel.
Yeah, and and you can't. It's just bad faith, man. They're like, oh, we're gonna tell you what being in the business of selling firearms is. Well, then it's nonsense because the only definition that's been in place has been in definition for 50 years. it's not hard to understand what that is, and to change it, is probably illegal.
Right.
Congress would have done it if it made sense. So that's what happened in our case. It's like Congress said, all right, here's what a gun is, here's what a firearm is. It's something that can shoot a bullet, or it's the finished frame of that thing, and that's it. That's all it is. And the ATF comes along and says, well, actually, it's like these 100 other things too. Well, not really. It's illegal when you try to do that.
All right, so right now you guys got the injunction. You can sell 80%, you can sell 100%, 0%. Now, what's the next move for the government?
Man, their only choice is to appeal, and they got a long road ahead, man. It's unusual to say that in this case. Normally, courts love the government, but the Fifth Circuit's not being very friendly to ATF right now.
Not friendly at all.
Your case is a very good example of that, and so it seems to me ATF has to appeal these injunctions and more, and a pending summary judgment.
Right.
We'll appeal all these to the Fifth Circuit, and the Fifth Circuit will say, sorry, you lose, but it'll take them to say, at least a year to get there.
Right.
And the ATF's only hope probably is that the Supreme Court will care about it. But I don't know, man.
Now,
I don't think it's going to happen.
Now, what's your take on this, the AR pistol brace and how that's coming about?
I watched the Second Amendment Foundation's case on that for a while.
Okay.
It looks to me like the final ATF rule, they got real smart, and they decided to create all these exemptions for actual handicapped people, which they hadn't done for a long time. So they're trying to prepare. It seems to me they're trying to prepare the best case they can for being in court.
Are you saying that if you're handicapped, they're going to allow you to have it?
I mean, they're acting like they've got these specific exemptions for handicap.
Because I haven't seen it yet.
That's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm being told.
Okay.
You read the final rule, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm obviously not as involved in the brace thing, but if it stands or falls, it'll be for the same reasons. It'll be for APA violations that don't consider New York Rifle and Pistol Association v. Bruin, because Bruin comes out June of last year or something, and they didn't use Bruin in their Administrative Procedures Act.
All right. So, and once again, Cody, before we go, because we're going to go off the air here, I can purchase an 80% lower, a 0% lower where?
You go to ghostgunner.net.
Ghostgunner.net. All right. And what's the last part?
I just said ghostguns.com.
Ghostgun.com. All right. Awesome. That's Cody Wilson with Defense Distributed. Man, just won a big case, a big injunction there in the Northern District of Texas?
Yep. Yep.
All right. And so, man, thank you, Cody. I really appreciate you calling in and giving us an update on that. All right. As always, folks, more guns equals less crime. You go out there and you buy yourself a gun. Get yourself an 80% lower. Get yourself a 0% lower.
3D print.
You've been listening to Come and Talk It with Michael Cargill.
This is Brittany Glaze, and I get my global gun news from Michael Cargill on Come and Talk It.